everyone. My name is Hannah Bothner. I am the short film program director for Tallgrass Film Festival, and I am here today with the filmmakers of An Opening, and I will go ahead and let them introduce themselves and tell us their role in the film.
Hey everybody, I'm Colin Davis. I'm the director and editor of An Opening.
Hey everyone, I'm Zach Shivers, and I'm the producer and a co-writer, along with Claire Berger, who also wrote the script.
Absolutely. So we got one of the writers here, so this is a great question. Sometimes if it's the director, it's a little more complicated. What was your source material? What made you want to write this film?
Oh, well, this is a great question. So, Colin, who is here, is a part of that, because part of what Claire and I wanted to do was write something that Colin would direct.
Oh, cool.
Which was a little bit of a game in the pre-production, which was, we were like, shall we show it to Colin yet? Is this something he would be interested in? And because we always wanted to work with him, and it was something about trying to find something that was a split between what we normally did and what he did. And the main inspiration came from our own life. We actually originally, this was maybe I shouldn't even say this, but it was a movie that had more to do with working in the film industry, that because in our life, this is about having access to before you've really made it, suddenly finding yourself in the company of people who have a lot of power. And when you live in LA and you're working in film, this is something that happens, and it creates all sorts of strange behavior and lots of anxious feelings. And when we were originally working on it, we were directly drawing from our experiences of, and then actually, what happened in our real life is in this short, it's about a aspiring ceramicist who ends up at an art show. In our life, the sort of the parallel characters we met at a big giant red carpet premiere.
Oh.
And we immediately had to kind of throw that out because it was a short film and we were not going to, it's a lot easier to create an art gallery than it is to replicate a giant Hollywood premiere. Also,
couldn't afford it. Not enough money.
Plus we just didn't really want to make another movie about making a movie.
Right.
So that's sort of how we ended up moving to an adjacent world. But yeah, it was about making Colin happy, and it was about
no. I want to jump in here and say that I was waiting on pins and needles for these two writers that we all grew up together in Portland, Oregon. We went to school together, and I've been waiting for them to bring me something that we could do together for a long time. And it took them, 15 years, but they did it. So here we are.
Wow. Well, so 15 years till the next one. Is that what's
No, I don't think so. I think
thank goodness.
Great, I'll take it.
Great deadline.
No, I'm never going to work with them again. So
Oh, no.
Just kidding. No. Sooner the better, I think.
So what made you choose? Was there anything specific that made you choose the world of art? Was it something that interested you, or was it more, this will be easier and less expensive?
Zach?
Yeah, well, it was really, we were dealing a lot with sort of prestige and the poison of prestige and how it really affects your sense of identity. And we had lots of conversations about, when can you call yourself a producer? When can you call yourself a director? When can you call yourself an actor or writer? And, and when does that feel like this fraudulent thing that makes you look like an idiot? And we were honestly looking for a parallel. Also, all of us had, spent a fair amount of time appreciating the art scene in LA, going to art shows when we could. I had some friends I had a friend who was a ceramicist, and among other things, who and there just felt like a lot of the same stuff was there. It was a world that we appreciated, and I think something that we really. I think, Colin, you actually, I don't want to put you on the spot here, but I believe there was a particular sculptor at a certain point that you were like, she has an energy that is like where I think the character that we would want to write would want to be. Like, this is the person she would want to be. And I can't remember who she is because we weren't dialed enough into the world of sculpture. Do you remember?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Okay, I remember it, but it doesn't really matter. The point is that, you know, it was a mixture of both. It was like there was a practical reason why we wanted to look for a different world to set this in. But then we tried to find something that we knew a little bit about. And we actually, you know, we worked to try and make sure things were somewhat accurate. Like, we actually originally had her as a sculptor, and we had some people look at it who were in that world and were like, well, no, she's technically a sculptural ceramicist. That's not a sculptor at all. And that actually became a seed of a joke, which was like, wow, what a mouthful. What a thing to call yourself. If we think it's hard to say that you're a writer, I can imagine what it'd be like to say sculptural ceramicist.
And then dealing at the same time with like thinking that, when do I call myself that? Because, you know, that's not my full-time job. And then such a complicated name too.
Exactly.
I'm interested in the who made the actual art, especially the hippo. Hippo, right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
And elephant. There's both, actually.
Yeah.
We got to give full credit to Claire Berger, who
cool.
stars and was co-writer with Zach. She is somehow like just an incredible artist in whatever field we could tell her to be a watercolor, you know, like do the best watercolor you can and it would be a beautiful watercolor. She's just an incredibly accomplished artist and well-rounded, and she just figured out how to be a ceramicist somehow.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Quadruple threat.
There's no other way around it. She just figured it out. She went, and by the way, it turned out that there was a kiln shortage in LA.
Yes.
Which it's extremely difficult to find space. Like, if you can make something out of clay, but if you want it fired, it's very difficult. So she had to drive out into the desert. She like joined this desert community of ceramicists like an hour and a half out of LA. And like they took her under their wing, and they like, you know, it was like this bombed out warehouse. They turned into like an art, and she would like drive out there in her Prius, and it was she like really committed all the way to do the
love that. That's incredible.
When she showed us the elephants with the particularly egregious member the first time, it was like, wow, that's incredible. How did you do that? And I don't know. I don't think we'll ever know.
I also want to know how she explained to this desert commune of people what she was making and why she was making.
Felt like they were kind of like into it, you know. They're like,
I like it.
Whatever you want here out of the commune. I think it's all fair play.
I really enjoy the living arrangements of the couple in the film. The garage, living in the garage. I want to know where that idea came from, and then I also want to know about shooting in such a small space filled with so much stuff, because that seems like it could be a nightmare.
Why did we shoot in your garage, Zach?
Okay, well, there's several parts of this. I really like that question. So first, I have to give huge credit to Sarah Davidson, who is our art director on this, who basically styled that. I mean, I shouldn't say all by herself. She had, I think Mallory helped, who was also working on the film, but it was that was a garage. That was not an apartment in a garage. That was my garage. And it had to be entire, and they took most of the furniture from my apartment and had to move it all down into that garage to shoot. And I think that part of it had to do with, so part of it had to do with what locations were available. And I had this great stroke of luck, which is that I saved my apartment from burning down, my apartment complex from burning down. And so it engendered, I saw smoke, and I was there in the middle of the day and called the fire, and they got in and they stopped before anything bad happened. So it engendered a lot of goodwill to ask to shut it down to shoot. And that was so it was like, I know that we can block our garages because I have earned some credibility in my community. But I think I think we wanted something to really show that contrast from where they are and whose house they're at. I think there's something about, and it's just the truth of living in LA. It's so expensive. It's so hard to have a day job and have a space to create art in.
Absolutely.
I would also say that it's funny too. Like, it's like kind of ridiculous. Like, no one is actually, I mean, especially two people are not living in this little space in real life, but in this world they are. And I think, there's something just sort of ridiculous about it that we enjoyed. There's parts of this movie that I think we really tried to lean into, how ridiculous can we get away with, while still portraying kind of a semi-reality. And that was one of them.
And then what was the actual filming like in the tiny garage?
It was hard. I mean, but I have to give credit to our gaffer and cinematographer, because they did some magic up in the rafters. The lights disappeared up there, and there were lights up there, and all of a sudden it was like a beautiful lit space.
Wow.
That where we could turn the camera any way we wanted, and it looked good. And I don't know, it's magic. Lighting is magic to me, and these guys did an incredible job. So it was tough to squeeze in there. We could only get 2 or 3 of us behind the camera at a time, but the way it was lit, I think, really allowed us to just turn whatever way we wanted, and that was a huge advantage.
It was also the one injury that took place.
Oh, really?
And I have to say, we had, it was the last day that we shot there. It was 4 days. We shot the last day in the garage, and we actually, believe it or not, through pure coincidence, two of our production people were medics. Were both emergency room.
Wow.
Just they were friends that wanted to just help out, who their day jobs happened to be working in an emergency room. Yeah. And we had high level, like absurd 2 set med, like overly qualified set medics who were there all 3 days, but had to go back to Oregon on the 4th day. And that is the day that Colin had his little injury in that garage.
What did I step on a piece of glass? I gripped a piece of glass.
Jar of jam.
Dropped a jar of jam. Now, why did I have a jar of jam? Not sure.
That I don't know. And then you picked it up. You said, "I got this," and then you sliced your finger open. It was
See, that could happen anywhere, but of course it had to happen in a
tight space.
garage
We can blame
set.
it in a tight space.
Speaking of tight spaces, I want to talk about cast next, but I love this image of gigantic, over 6 feet tall Dan Lippert filming in a tiny garage with all of these people. But I also want to talk about how you cast this film from Dan to our semi-older couple that they meet, more established couple that they meet.
Well, I think Dan was maybe the first person we thought of. And I think we in the latter stages of writing, we were really writing to Dan, because all of us are big UCB fans. Upright Citizens Brigade Theater out here in Los Angeles, which is now sadly closed, or maybe not sadly. They didn't. Anyways, it's a whole thing. Yeah, it's closed.
Politics.
There's some politics involved, but it's a place where a lot of improv actors go and put on shows. And we knew Dan Lippert from seeing him live there with his groups Winslow and Big Grande, and then he also does a lot of podcasting stuff. The Teacher's Lounge, and he's on Comedy Bang Bang and stuff like that. So we were fans of Dan. And he sort of hadn't really been in anything that we'd seen, just some smaller stuff and commercials and stuff. But we figured, we really wanted to use his talents on screen because he felt super underutilized. So we wrote him just a personal letter, and he was super down. He was just very interested in the project, and I think he understood what we were going for from a thematic standpoint, the difficulties in expressing who you are to the people that can help you, and the people that have power. And then we had a casting director, a friend, Alexandra Neitz, who helped us to cast Gwen and Kat, the 2 older ladies who are so hilarious and did a great job. And then we had our friend Julian, who Zach went to college with up in Oregon, and who I'm now friends with. He played Lark Zarita, and he flew himself out from New York. He just wanted to have fun and participate. So we
Wow.
thought that'd be a good role for him.
Absolutely.
And we, it's really funny. He's not even an actor. He's actually a very, I would quite say, quite successful artist. He's a street photographer. Has his photos are in the New Yorker. I mean, he's like, and but back in college, he was interested in acting, and he actually was in our the first movie that I produced. And Colin, you were involved. You were edited, and it was ours as Kyle was directing it, and we. And he's in that and is amazing in that. And so it's like always trying to find a way to get him in something, even though he doesn't do it anymore.
So funny. That's totally. Pretty incredible. I love that. Well, and then now Dan's in the new Paranormal Activity. So he's going to be a big movie star. So I feel like he should have you guys to thank for that, right?
Yeah, we're going to take credit for whatever he does in the future. Absolutely.
Good. Good.
No, I mean, huge congrats to him. I think he's going to blow up because he's so funny. I just think people need to see him on screen.
Absolutely. Well, I think he plays kind of that perfect supportive yet slightly dopey boyfriend. That's great. So so we have your film paired with a feature film called Poser that's all about like not feeling like you can very similar to what your film is, not feeling like you can call yourself a part of a community yet, like not feeling that you are part of that community and trying to decide when you are part of that community, that sort of thing. And that's a really big part of your film. And I assume that that's something that you guys have struggled with if it's, you wrote this film and created this film. Do you guys, when for all of the young filmmakers out there that are watching this, when did you feel like you could call yourselves filmmakers? And how do you think, what was the mind space that you had to put yourself in to get to that point, I guess, if that makes sense?
It's a hard question. Yeah. I mean, it's a really good question because I think that people our age and younger and older probably that do, especially in the arts, I think in all walks of life, I think it's something that our generation kind of struggles with particularly. There's sort of an imposter syndrome that's baked in, and I'm not entirely clear why. And I don't know that I will ever be fully confident saying I'm Colin the director. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there's a little bit of there's just a little bit of something in there that's tough to say. You sort of don't want to claim falsely until you've accomplished the big goals. But really, over time, at least I have become more comfortable with it when I've done enough work to at least feel like I've put some effort into going after the thing that I want to be doing. And so I can kind of say it now. But I wouldn't say I've reached a place where I'm fully comfortable. So advice to younger people that I can give you is it's always going to be hard, but I think if you put your time in, you'll see that you can look back on a body of work that you can claim as the thing you want to do.
Absolutely.
I would say, first of all, I too, especially if you're doing this independently, it's very different if you have a job like I work as a video producer for a company. Well, I'm very comfortable saying it there because it's different from outside where you're making projects on your own than when you're backed up by some institution. But I would say that I think there's kind of two things. One is that the sooner you start saying it, the sooner you'll ever be it in the way that you want it to be, because you have to say you're the writer in order for that to even happen on a bad scale. Like to even create something that is bad, you must say that you're the thing so that you can do the writing, so that people will work with you to make it happen. And if you're not saying it, you will never do it, because if you're saying you're something else, then people won't see you as that thing, even if you're a bad version of the thing. And so the part that comes with that is just stop worrying about being a bad, embarrassing version of whatever the thing that you are. Who cares? Like, just be a bad writer for a while.
Yeah.
Like, it's fine.
Right.
At least you're writing and saying you're a writer. And then the day you write something good, everyone will say, we always knew you would be good. And they'll forget about all those bad things that you wrote.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that it is. It's just like embrace being the bad version of something, because it's the only way to get to the thing where you're going to feel good about it. And so I think that's all I have to say. I think it gets easier when you get older. It gets easier when you do more, but it's just letting go of the fear of being bad.
Yeah, and I think furthermore, I mean, I think you are what you say you are. I think Dan has that line in the film, and who cares that, you know, you didn't, you know, write the best thing in the world or direct the best thing in the world. If that's the way you want to be portrayed, or that's the what you feel you do, then say it, and that's what you do. Just period.
Incredible. I think that's some incredible advice, and hopefully you guys no longer feel like posers, and hopefully everybody out there can start to feel less like posers. I'm working on it myself, of course. Well, thank you both so much. I've got one last question for you. What are you guys working on next? What can we expect from you? What do you have to point people towards? What do you want to plug?
Plugs. Zach, you got any plugs?
Gosh, I've got some things I'm working on. They're all in a black box. They're not ready for the public, but I've got I don't know, I've nothing to plug at the moment. But I encourage Colin, you got something to plug?
I think you know, it's always tough to plug projects that I think are coming a little further down the line, but I'm working on a first feature that I'm looking to shoot early next year, and hopefully Zach will be involved in as well. That I don't know, you can look for my name in 2 years when it's done.
In the trades.
Yeah, in the trades. But until that point, you can go to observatory.media to check out some of my other work and see what we're working on down the line.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you both so much. And thank you all out there for tuning in and for watching films and supporting Tallgrass.
Thank you so much.